Chris Nesting in Palms, up the hill from this project. I feel frustrated and disappointed this project and in the city's push to get it done. The proposed Madison Street exit for one thing, and exit entrance spells trouble, during the winter especially. We've lived here 45 years. While they salt Madison Street, we never go up Madison Street because you can't make it, salted or not. We always go up Delafield. So that seems like not a good explanation of why you would allow this increased traffic. I feel that once this is built, when you drive into our downtown from the west, people will be met by a large 4-story apartment complex. No longer will they see the site of our downtown, the river, the parks. What we have here is a plot of land a little over 5 acres, 219 apartments in a 4-story building. And while the city code is a suggestion, apparently, this does not take away the responsibility of the Planning Commission to help ensure that a neighborhood does not lose its beauty and general enjoyment of existing structures on the adjoining properties. You're willing to build much higher and make it more dense, and I resent it. I feel as though the city's trying to balance their pending deficits on this one project. Get as much as you can in taxes once the TIF is fulfilled. And as a long-term resident, I feel you're letting the community down, especially the neighborhoods west of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Craig Swartout, 20. I have the letter that was sent from the Mandel Group on October 17th, and I just have some questions, if I could be allowed to ask them. I've spent 3.5 decades doing 3D rendering, so I know a little bit about renderings. Would it be possible for us to take a look at that slide that faces north from the corner? Sure. The rendered slide? There, that one. Thank you. That's not a 4-story building. No, it's a 4.5-story building. No matter how you cut it, that's a 4.5-story building. It's 15 feet taller than code according to this. 8 feet taller than code on the one building, 15 feet taller than code on the other building. My question would be, at what point do we draw the line? I don't know how many meetings back I go on this project, but one of the first things I ask, because of my background, is why have this built without having an actual rendering, and I'm talking about a 3D rendering done on the plot of land with the surrounding area. It's not that difficult to do. I was told at the time, well, that would take a week's worth of work. I'm guessing, and I don't know, it says the Mandela Group entered a purchase agreement with the city of Waukesha to buy the site. Can anybody tell me how much they're buying the site for?
I don't know. Do you know, Jennifer?
It's roughly 2.5 million. I don't know the exact amount.
Roughly 2.5 million? Okay, well, I guess my comment would be for roughly $2.5 million. I'm sure they're going to make a substantial amount more than that. I think the quote that I was given by somebody from the Mandel Group at that first meeting was it would take us about a week to make that rendering that I was talking about. I don't see how you build that building without seeing what it really looks like. And in order to see what it really looks like, that means that you have to take a picture of the surrounding area 360 degrees and render it. That takes a week. So be it, it takes a week. They're going to spend $2.5 million buying a piece of property. They're going to make, God, I can't even imagine how much money after they put these units up and they start renting them out. Again, I go back to, if you think of the size of this building, the size of that building across the street, not even taking into account what you're not going to be able to see as you come into the downtown area, but what is it going to look like? I just think that before you go ahead and build this building, I guess my first question is, what's the hurry? It seems like there's still a lot of things that are up in the air here. I listened to a very long rendition of numbers, and they don't all fit into what the codes are. Now, obviously I don't have the expertise that Doug has, but I also think that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and in this case, it's probably worth about $2.5 million. I think that a rendering of this project within this plot, showing the surrounding area, is important before this building is built. And to add to that, I would say, once the building's built, you can't take it down. But if you see the rendering and you go, gee, I really don't like the way that looks in the surrounding area, you can say, let's not build that building. Let's find some other use for that land, or let's put some grass on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Russ Nielsen. I've lived at that property 62 years, so I've kind of had a little bit of history on Madison Street traffic. And your traffic study, your legend, isn't even close. Last meeting I was at, I asked, could you please open up the traffic study to 6 in the morning to 9 in the morning? And 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock at night. You got the hospital letting out, and people going to the hospital. That's a major route for school buses in the morning going up Madison Street between 6 and 8. There's a lot more traffic than what that study comes out with right now. And they have 15 cars coming off of Madison Street and going in Madison Street. That's not even close. You got 15 cars coming off of Randall Street. So this exit, 15 cars, what about the other 95 or 85 that are in there? Can I get a traffic study redone with the right times? Is that too much to ask? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Frank Palm. I wish the commission would take a time and look at what ordinances you're going to follow, whether you're going to follow a height restriction that far exceeds what you normally would have anyplace else, a density which is also over the max of what you recommend in all your ordinances, and a traffic study that's flawed. As far as a height going into the hill, it really has nothing to do with the building itself. You're looking at an ordinance that says a certain height, and that's what you want to maintain. Whether it dead ends into a hill or whether it dead ends into the Empire State Building sitting next to it, it has no relevancy to it other than that you're looking at these ordinances. You need to follow the ordinances you've set up. That's your responsibility. And like Doug said, you can change anything you want, and that's your prerogative, but then you're opening up a large door that I might as well not follow any ordinances either. Now, both aldermen of this area oppose it. The neighborhood opposes it. The neighborhood does not oppose a project there. They would very much like an apartment complex there without any issue, but not this one. This one is a monstrosity. It's way too large. You're cramming way too much into that small area. But as far as a project there, the neighborhood would back that project without any problem if it was acceptable. I mean, if it was in the norms, if it would fit into the neighborhood. And we'd appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did receive one email this afternoon. If you want, I could read that into the record right now.
Sure.
This is from Joss Folsick, 130. He titles it, "The Problem. Heirs Associated performed a traffic study for this project and added an addendum to it. Here's what you learn by reading both the original and the addendum. Plan C, Madison Street Development Driveway. Due to the proximity of the driveway to Delafield Street, Madison Street, and North Street intersection, the driveway is recommended to operate as a right-in, right-out. With the desire from Mandel Group to have 2 lots for parking that aren't connected to each other within the property, the developer needs all these extra entrances and exits and additionally wants to do a Plan D where Madison is more than right in, right out. They want full traffic in and out from both directions. The addendum states that Plan D will have much worse 95th percentile situations, maybe longer than what is calculated. To me, this means the sky is the limit for how far back queue lengths could get all around when spikes in traffic happen. We all know that intersection, how traffic can peak and back up all the way past Barstow during busy hours, and most of us should all know what it's like driving up Madison Street from that intersection in bad weather. Can only imagine what a clown show such a driveway would be right there during peak times, let alone during snowfall with the incline. There is a Plan A that the traffic original study details. It includes a single nice large entrance exit way, all further up on Delafield Street, closer to where they are right now, far from the intersection with the same building layout. Seems like a wise choice. Site Plan A presents a more desirable access design. Included in the summary of the addendum, they mention that they hold the same recommendation as before. I asked that Mandel Group go with Plan A. We, the taxpayers, just spent millions of dollars redoing the roads around here. These main arteries of North and Madison Streets are major investments of Waukesha, and this would ruin what we just made with the North Street renovations, as well as ruin the commuting paths for a large number of Waukesha residents. If Mandel isn't willing to do that, interest rates are going down. We've just had a half point taken off the Federal Reserve borrowing rate, with another half point expected in the near future. Borrowing will become easier for big residential builders again. We can wait for something good if Mandel isn't willing to change the plan.
Hello, Lisa Selb. I do have a couple questions. They talked about a loading area on Delafield Street. Do we have a picture of where that would be? It said it was for moving and for deliveries.
Just north of the Buena Vista.
Is your mic on?
I'm sorry. Thank you. It would be just north of the Buena Vista intersection, and it wouldn't be on the private property. It would be a public street parking area along Delafield Street, cut into the median or the terrace strip that would allow for temporary parking in front of the plaza space of the north building.
Okay, so we don't have a.
I don't have the
a drawing of
exact
that.
drawing with
Okay,
me
so that's
today.
information
It actually
that
does show it right on there.
I don't.
I think
see
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can see it right in the bump out on the street.
Can you point to it?
My pointer isn't working, so I'm sorry I can't. Unless it starts.
Right across from where Buena Vista dead ends in there, on the other side of the street.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I see. So that's the wrong location. It's north of the. You see, there's a bump out between the two crosswalks. That bump out is to be north of the crosswalk.
Okay, so it's as shown in the plan. It's not the same.
No, it's north of the northerly
Correct.
crosswalk.
So he's saying it's incorrect on the plan, so we don't have an accurate drawing of where that will be.
Okay.
Correct. This may be off an older site plan, but we had been highlighting buildings to make them show more clearly. The civil plans that are attached have the correct location, but it's just to the north of that northerly parking lot. It's also part of the public street. They're working with Public Works to determine that exact location and depth.
There isn't a terrace there, though, it's the sidewalk. So will the sidewalk jut in order to accommodate that?
No, there's a terrace between the street and the sidewalk along Delafield Street.
Okay. All right, moving on. Could we go to the rendering, please? that you had just pulled up previously?
I don't recall which one that was.
It was of the south building, south elevation.
Okay.
Looking north.
The heck.
Thank you. Okay, so as the gentleman was saying, we don't have the view of what it looks like, but this isn't even an accurate view because you're saying the building is 7 feet from Delafield Street. You're showing 12 feet of grass, trees, and the sidewalk. So is it the building itself actually 7 foot, but then you have the walkout, which has to be another at least 3 feet, and then the sidewalk? Would that be the accurate depiction of that?
Could you kind of repeat what you're asking?
You're saying the building is 7 feet from Delafield Street?
Yes, on the civil plans.
Okay. So we have 7 feet, and then we have the staircase walkout that has to be a minimum of 36 inches. And then we have the sidewalk itself, which is between 3 to 5 feet. And then we have the street, so we have maybe a foot. And this is showing the sidewalk, the lawn, the trees. Is that, so we don't have an accurate rendering? Is that what we're seeing here?
I'd defer that to the architect, but looks like there may be a little more green space there. The building is probably shifted over to the right a little further.
Will they be able to fit a tree in 1 foot of space?
Building faces 7 feet from the right-of-way or the property line, and then the sidewalk is outside of that. So there's room for the sidewalk and the terrace as shown on this rendering.
Okay. All right, that makes more sense because they were saying it was 7 foot from the building to Delafield Street. So there is a little bit more room there, but not quite that much room. Okay, thank you for that clarification. So I would like to address some of the questions that we had from the previous meeting. I had questioned which number we were using for the acreage, whether it was 5.01 or 5.2266, which would be that correct number that we're using, because that's what the calculations are based off of for density and parking and everything else. So could someone please clarify which number we're using?
What were your two numbers?
It's at 5.01, and then we have 5.2466. I don't know if it's because of the finger of land, if that's considering
I
the
think-
difference with the land swap.
Right, the total acreage of the property is 5.246 or whatever that number is.
Okay.
Correct.
But the letter from the developer says that it's 5.01. So what we were questioning the last meeting, what the discrepancy was?
That number may have come from, earlier on, there was looking at possibly having a land swap. That land swap hasn't occurred. So the number of the property would be 5.24.
And so if there is a land swap and it ends up being less acreage, then all of the numbers will be off?
Not off, but they'd have to be readjusted if the land swap were to occur.
So then does it come back to Plan Commission?
I don't know that it would need to. It's not going to affect the plan itself.
But
The
it-
density number would change by a percentage. That would be about it.
It would affect all of the numbers on the sheet that you had in regards to the different relief that they wanted? The PUD reliefs? It affects the amount of parking spaces required, it affects the density. So I'm questioning how that would be figured out if that's an issue. We had asked last time about the parking. It was 90 spaces short. I haven't heard any resolutions for those 90 spaces. Has there been any resolution presented for that?
This is a PUD, so the Plan Commission can provide for variances on that.
For the parking as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so granted, you are able to grant that relief, but where will those extra 90 parking cars go? That's a question that I have as well. Okay. I understand with the PUD and with the reliefs that that you can use your discretion on how those items change. There are several items that were listed on the slide that are not changed in regards to looking at the zoning code. I had sent an email to the commissioners this morning. I'm wondering if you had all received it. I got one response back. Did not receive it?
I received it.
You received it? Elizabeth, did you receive it?
I have not checked email yet today. I came from work.
Okay, R.G. Keller, did you receive it? I did. Okay. Mr. Schmitz, did you? Okay. Okay. Joan, did you receive it?
I have not looked.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I would like to read that email. It said, good morning. This is the sunrise from the Blair House property. And I had presented one to you, but I had a larger version. This is so Jack Wells can see it if it's on camera. So this is the view of the sunrise from the Blair House property. The email continues. Every morning I come down the staircase and turn into the dining room with anticipation of the scenery in the skies that I will see out of the sunroom windows. The proposed Mandel South apartment building would prevent us from enjoying this beauty every single day. The structure would have an adverse effect on our adjoining property. We ask that you adhere to Waukesha zoning code as you vote for this item at tonight's Plan Commission meeting. Thank you. And then I go on to quote one of the items that cannot be changed by the PUD. Whether the structure or use would unnecessarily have an adverse effect on the beauty and general enjoyment of our existing structures on the adjoining properties. This isn't let me reword that. This does require a yes or no answer. Does it have an adverse effect on our adjoining property? It's not a how much money will this make for the city to make it worthwhile to destroy their view. It's a yes or no answer. Also, I'd like to say that every day, each new sunrise, it's a beautiful new masterpiece. I see it as priceless. I even say, wow, God, you did really good today on your painting of the skies. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the skies display his craftsmanship. It's a spiritual experience to me, and this building would destroy that. It would have an adverse effect on our adjoining property. And then the other one that can't be changed by the PUD is whether there shall be adequate provision for safe traffic circulation and driveway safe locations. No one has mentioned that the count that was done for the traffic study was done on a January morning after a blizzard when the temperatures soared down to below negative temperatures, sub-zero, and that wasn't including the wind chill. Nobody is talking about any of that. These numbers are not accurate. We can look out the window and we see cars now with the new way that it's been reconfigured past 3rd Street on Madison Street, waiting to get down through that intersection. As was mentioned in the letter, if you're coming from the other way, there's been traffic past the brewery trying to get to that intersection. Numbers that were done after a blizzard are not going to suit our city. It's going to cause a major problem. It took such a long time for us to get past the one-way. I don't want to go to Waukesha. We got those one-way streets. It's just terrible. We were actually at a medical appointment, and one of the nurses still said she won't drive through Waukesha because of the one-way streets. And we tried to tell her, no, we've worked on that. We've corrected it. It's so much better. But now we're creating another terrible intersection that's going to prevent people from coming to our city. We want to draw people in. This is just an awful idea. You've heard it from multiple people. So these two items, whether it's adequate provision for safe traffic circulation and safe driveway locations, let's talk about that a little bit. I had a discussion with Josh, who sent that in. In order for this traffic study to work, in order for it to pass, it had said that it would approve a right in, right out for the Madison Street entrance. That's what was acceptable. What's being proposed is the two-way. You can come in, you can come out, you can cross traffic. That's not what was acceptable. So for them to be passing it this way, I just don't understand how that can even be considered. It just does not make sense. And another issue that we have there was we had one of the residents say that entrance exit is right across from my house. No one has said anything about how that headlight issue would be addressed. That was something that we brought up. No one is talking about any of that. There are so many reasons why this is not a good idea. Even the entrance that is on Delafield Street near the intersection, there was someone on this commission that said, I don't believe that that's a good idea to have that there. Perhaps they could look at moving it, and they did not move it. So that one there as well isn't even a good idea. We just talked about a gas station, and you have two exits by the intersection, and it's like, oh, this isn't a good idea. The engineer said this isn't a good idea, yet we're talking about putting that in this terrible intersection. It didn't, the traffic study, if you look at it, it says it passes except, and when you look at those exceptions, it's a failing grade. It doesn't pass the traffic study. Please read it line for line, and you'll see it has the queue times aren't good, the amount isn't good. It says it passes except, and that makes me wonder if it wasn't written so that it could be passed for this project. Seriously, there are so many issues that need to be dealt with here, and it wasn't too long ago that the Common Council passed that if there was an appeal to the Plan Commission, it would go to court. I think that's a good idea, that it would go to court and not be within another group within the city. So hopefully you'll take all these considerations into play, and please do what's right for our community, for our historic area, for our Tower Hill neighborhood. I beg you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Eric Payne, also the alderman that represents this district and these people. When we first purchased this property, and Joan was on the council, she remembers all of the discussion that took place years back. We purchased the property so we would have control over what was put there. All right? We would have sole discretion on whether we would like a project or we didn't like the project. And that's what was sold to the Common Council at that time to get approval to purchase the property. Well, from what I see, that didn't happen because we have Plan Commission, or the Planning Department has discretion whether to not totally abide by what is written for the ordinances, and they can alter that if it's in the best interest of the development. Well, from the very beginning, the very first meetings we've had on this particular development, and we had many residents show up and speak, and people pretend to listen to their concerns. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed on any of it. And so everybody that attended all of those meetings, it was a waste of their time because nothing changed. I was very happy when the commission put it on hold last time for a developer to look at some of the concerns. Well, I don't think they looked at them because I see nothing different. Now, I've lived in the city my whole life. I've been here 70 years. Mayor's been here his whole life. I know Madison Street Hill, and the best efforts of our Public Works Department to keep that hill clean for emergency vehicles in the wintertime, it still gets to be an icy hazard. People coming down the hill, I've seen them go every which direction. You can't get up the hill. And now we're going to put a driveway there. And the driveway itself is going to take away all of the parking for the residents across the street. There's probably only 5 parking stalls on that stretch. And to get line of sight up the hill and down the hill, it's going to probably eliminate all of that parking on that side of the street. So there will be no extra parking between Randall Street and the bottom of the hill. I don't know what to say because everybody said that you've heard the concerns of everybody. The height of the building hasn't changed. The driveway was a major concern. That hasn't changed. Nothing has changed, okay? So I guess it's up to you guys to do whatever. And if this development doesn't work for the developer, within our ordinance, the way it's written, the height of the building and such, then maybe it's not the right development for them to do. We can wait for another development. It's not costing us anything to have the property sit there. We already have it. We already paid for it. So thank you very much for your consideration tonight.
Thank you.